All right, today I'm replacing a radiator to Ford. There's a trick to doing this because the late model Fords, this is a 2000, have a specialty radiator, bottom radiator hose that there's a trick to disconnecting. They do that so that you have to get, Ford tool number so and so, and I've seen that in the manual before, so that's usually what they'll call out for. I didn't look this procedure up in the manual. I probably should have. That way I would have known what I was up against. But anyway, that's what this is all about. So this hose here has a normal clamp that actually attaches to the engine block up over here, but on the radiator itself, there is the transmission line that goes in here and here. Okay, this transmission line actually blocks what it says on the radiator hose itself, and it says to okay, there it is. It says to bend the tab up to remove the radiator hose. Okay, to remove, bend tab back, and you got to twist the hose basically. And in case you wanted to see it better, this is it right here. Okay, so there's actually a warning up there. Now there's a line that actually you can kind of see a line that actually lines up with the line lines up with this uh, transmission cooling oil line. Okay, so the transmission cooler's in the radiator, obviously. Okay, so the trick to doing this is what I ended up doing was I took it loose from the engine block, because to get to the side of this radiator is such a hassle just to bend this tang up, and I couldn't see it very well, so I actually removed it with the radiator hose on it. So I'm gonna put the radiator hose back on the engine once I get it in. I'm gonna put it into reverse order, and it should go fairly smoothly. Or I could just install the radiator hose on a new radiator and then do it that way. But that's the deal. Okay. So to do this, you actually have to bend this tang up, which is right here. Okay. You have to bend that up in order to, and it's not easy either. You got to bend it up in order to line it up so you can twist the hose. And I probably should have got some gloves. I'll come back on camera once I have some gloves and I dry this off a little better, and then you can see how easy it is to remove it once this tang is moved up. All right, so it's about a 90-degree turn. So what you have to do is you have to take a pretty large pair of channel locks to get it, because it's got a grip. I mean, if it's been on there for 15 years or whatever it is, because that's how long this one's been on there, it's gonna be a little bit stiff. So you just got to kind of get a grip. You got to move it to where it's in a channel. Okay, and then the piece should just come right off. It's a little bit stiff, but I'll get it off. I'll come back on camera once I get it. All right, so the trick is that you actually have to grab this flange to turn it off, because if you turn the hose is going to twist on there. This is going to twist off. So that's what I've gone through to get this freaking thing off. Anyway, you have to grab this flange and turn it about 90 degrees. I'll probably shoot it from this angle. Let me just get it to where it's going to be where I need it to be. Okay, so you need to grab that flange. I guess it's probably a metal flange. I think it's metal anyway. Grab the flange, and you gotta do it with a large pair of pliers. That's why you can't do it in a truck. I've seen mechanics do it in a truck, but it's a real trick. You just don't have the angle of the dangle in there, so that's why I decided to take it out of the truck instead and do it that way. Alright, it should be still not quite loose. And normally you're going to be replacing radiator hoses when you do this anyway. In this case, the radiator hose, I run my system without it being sealed because I had a suspect leak, so I was running it with a cap loose on the reservoir bottle. So I'm not worried about the radiator hoses being expanded or contracted. They're in really good shape. The rubber's still very, very pliable. So anyway, I got it to that point. It should be cutting off, but here we go. Okay. It looks like it's coming off because I got this part off. Uh, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it off, and then I'm going to put it all back together. Then put it back on there. But that's how you get these things off. They're a real pain in the ass. Ford does that just so that you have to take the truck to them to get them to fix it because they've locked you out basically. Uh, you know, they'll probably tell you it's because it's a better system, but it's not a better system. You know, clamps have been used on radiator hoses for 100 years. So anyway, good luck with that. That's how you get one of these guys off here. Now, to get it on to the next radiator, I wanted to show you that too. There is, when you get a radiator, it's kind of a multi-fit radiator in a lot of, as are a lot of parts. So they're going to give you one with a little seal around it. The reason they give you it with a seal is because this seal is actually covering the O-rings. If your radiator doesn't use O-rings, I suspect you're going to probably take this off and take the O-rings out of there. But mine does use the O-rings, so I have to include the O-rings, and that's just so it gets a good seal. It's actually I haven't had any problems with it leaking at the bottom end like that. So, but I hope you learned something from this, and hopefully you don't have to do this. But if you do, that's how you get that thing off of there. And again, I ended up, twisting this off a little bit. It actually came backwards from here. I'm going to be able to remove the hose, but I'm still going to have to get the flange part from off of here once I get it done. And I don't know, maybe I'll add some more footage to this once I get to that point, but I'm just trying to get this job done. Thanks for watching. Okay, so just to add a little bit to the video. Uh, so now what I've done is I've turned it 90 degrees, but this thing's been on here for so long, it's kind of cemented to here. So what I ended up doing was I had to insert a screwdriver just to kind of pry this a little bit. That's why I'm pretty confident that somebody would probably not get it off if it was on a vehicle, unless you're extremely lucky or experienced with this vehicle, which I hope that I don't end up being, although this thing is a hole in my wallet now at this point. Anyway, so that's the way you get it off. You have to just kind of work your way around the flange and just kind of, get it loose from there. Try to get it at multiple angles, and eventually it does back off of this here. And like I said, the reason it's on there so tight is because there's an O-ring. There's probably a double O-ring is probably what it is. I'm going to grab my other screwdriver real quick. Okay, you can kind of see the O-ring starting to appear now. That's the red part. I don't know if you can see that from that angle, but there's a red part in there. That's the O-ring. Just kind of slowly but surely. And eventually, probably when it gets past the second seal, it becomes a lot easier. I suppose you could go to a shop and pay, $150 an hour or whatever their going rate is. At Ford, it's probably $150. If you go to some third world place that doesn't have a ASE certified technician, you're going to probably pop for about $75 an hour. Book time on this, I would imagine, for Ford is probably an hour, maybe less time to get the radiator out and a new one in. But you know, that's using the Ford tool gets this that gets you through this issue, you know, of having to deal with that specialty fitting. I do want to show it coming off, just so you don't think I'm completely full of shit. Now, as you can see, this is the part, the flange that fits into that radiator hose right in here. So what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to have to get this piece to slide back on there and seal it all up so it's all nice and sealed. You know, God only knows, like I said, why Ford did this. Uh, I guess they, you know, that was kind of their sock to all the DIYers out there like myself who don't trust people to work on their trucks and would prefer to do it themselves. Anyway, you can see it coming off. I'm going to try to get it all the way off here. Yeah, double O-ring now, so it looks like it's got pretty much past the second O-ring now, so it should be fairly easy to get it off. Now, if I was able to grab the hose, I probably would have had it off already, but there it is. Just get this guy, tweak it off. Okay, so it's off. So now what I'm going to do the reverse order is I'm going to put this back in here, and then I'm going to make sure that this is brought up to there and that it's sealed, and then I'm going to put it on the new radiator. So that's the procedure. As you can see, there's a double O-ring on this radiator, so I will be keeping the O-rings on the new radiator. I don't know if they tell you, it's not clear whether they say to take these off or not if you don't have a double O-ring, so that part's still a mystery. But I would imagine if you don't have an O-ring, it's either disintegrated or it's not supposed to be there, or there wasn't one there in the first place. So anyway, good luck to those guys, but that's the job, so thanks for watching. Oh yes, and I did want to show you what the flange was that had to be bent up from here. Now here's where the flange registers, right in that little slot right there, which is on the side of the radiator, because this radiator's out of the truck. It's actually sitting sideways. You know, when it sits in the truck, it goes lengthwise like this, okay? So imagine you're trying to get something that's down at the bottom here and not much room to do it. I suppose you could probably take the tire off and maybe get to it from where the tire is if you want to get to that, you know, get to that point, do it like that. In retrospect, that's probably the way I would have done it to begin with, but I didn't think it was going to be such a big deal. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this part up over this piece and it's going to be all sealed. But I was going to try to make a point, I forgot what it was. Oh, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'll just kind of grab, you know, this and just kind of wedge it until it's actually this far. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. My point is, here's the metal piece. I've fitted inside of this, okay? This is where that tang was that was in there. So the tang is actually part of the hose itself, part of the hose assembly. So once you put it back on there, just so it doesn't twist off, you know, you got to twist it back. But, you know, I don't even know if it's really necessary to twist it back because, well, I mean, I can't really see this thing tweaking back and forth like this. But you know, I guess to be factory, once you put the hose back on, you'll want to tweak this tang back and put it back, so that the next time you have to do it, you have to deal with that all over again. So thanks for watching. All right, I did want to show the new radiator. So here's the new radiator. As you can see, there's a little cup here. The reason that that's there is to keep the O-rings on the radiator. So basically what you have to do is you just have to take this cup off. You can see the two O-rings. They're actually dark O-rings, and they are on there. There's two of them. And then you just get this guy back on there in the same way that you got it, the same way that you got it off. It's actually easier to get it on. You do want to make sure that this tang is facing the direction of that notch right there, and then once you get it on there, you just squeeze it on, and then you bend it so that it's there. Now I probably clocked this wrong, so I'm gonna have to pull it out of there and then get it back in there, just so I can bend this tang down into that notch. But I don't know how interested I am in getting it to go on there. Well, I suppose I probably should be interested, because under high pressure it might shoot off, but I don't know. It's such a high pressure situation with two O-rings on here. But I would recommend doing it just to get it to where it's done just like factory. You don't want it to twist. The vehicle might twist a little bit because of the chassis. I don't know what Ford's reasoning was to not put a clamp on there. So that's what I'm going to end up putting this back in there and getting it to where it all matches up. So I think I've covered everything now. When they sell you the radiator, they do talk about the piece that has to come off, that plastic piece. The language again here is not that clear. I used to be a tech writer, so I used to write really clear copies so that the tech knew exactly what to understand. I didn't write it like I was a technician. I wrote it like I was a writer writing to techs. So this is probably written by some Chinese person, because that's probably where this radiator came from. So that's why it's kind of vague. But that's it for the radiator job. Thanks for watching. Again, thanks for watching.